Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse Daily Dose of AFA.
Where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing so you can start your day off the AFA way. And in case if you haven't forgotten, we're going to tell you every single day because Mark wrote a very powerful book.
And you need to hear it.
You need to hear it.
Listen, you know what? You are absolutely fucking amazing. And the problem is other people, society, all of these different outside influences may not tell you directly that you're not absolutely amazing, but in a roundabout way, they get to it, right? Rules and regulations that you need to live up to and societal norms and things that may not fit who you are. But you are absolutely amazing. No ifs, ands, or buts. And so you can start your day knowing that that is the case and you will be powerful.
Yes, you will. And what are we trying to do here, Mark? We are trying to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. So you're going to hear us say it all the time. Come wake and bake with us. Come get high with us, because high to me means hope. H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. And I love these new little banners.
And you know what? When somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to go get high," it has that negative stigma associated. Good morning, Beth. Hey, Jack.
Good morning.
It has that negative stigma, but listen, whatever way you get high, I get high without using any outside influences, right? I get high using meditation. I get high using breath work. You want a psychedelic experience without using any substances outside of you? Try some breath work. Give that a shot. Holy good God.
Mark, well, just think
Morning,
about
Maria.
breath work. Even when women are in labor, it gets them into this trance-like psychedelic experience.
Right?
So
Isn't that what Lamaze is about that?
Yes.
All about breath, right?
Breathe it in.
Shift your consciousness. Sherry, we've done it. Oh my gosh.
That's great. Good stuff.
Hey, there's that girl from Iowa popping in.
Oh, who's that? Miss Nurse Carrie Lee.
Carrie Lee.
Carrie Lee is for me. She had a big weekend this weekend. Happy birthday to Carrie Lee's husband, Bob.
Ooh, Bob. Happy birthday, Bob.
Happy birthday, Bob, if you're watching this morning.
Woohoo.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers to all the birthdays today. Today is Monday.
Monday, May 3rd. May already.
Motivational Monday, Mantra Monday, Mindful Monday, right? Yeah.
Mindfulness. 2 days before Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, Cinco de Mayo.
I know it's spring when Cinco de Mayo rolls around. I'm like, okay, start of the party season. Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, my. All right. So, Sherry, let's start off with a little bit of daily love.
Every single day for our new viewers. If you're viewing for the first time, subscribe to the Daily Love by texting AFA Love to 484848. I have it right there on the screen for you all.
Boom.
It is a beautiful, beautiful 2 to 3 minute little meditation that Mark does every day. It gets delivered right to your text message. What a great way to wake up to Mark's voice. And then now every morning. So if you miss that in the morning, you can go back and listen to it. However, we're covering it right here, right now.
Cover it right here. Yeah. Listen, this is a good one today. And so I'm going to read the whole thing, Sherry. It's not going to take long.
No, it's all good.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Now, this is from, I don't have the author's name. It is from one of the landmark books that are out there. It might have been Werner Erhard, but somebody within the landmark space, I believe, wrote this. So, hey, Jeff, happy Monday. So here we go. This is called responsibility. Pay attention now, folks. Be responsible for listening. Responsibility is not burden, fault, praise, blame, credit, shame, or guilt. No one can make you responsible. It is your choice. You would choose to be responsible to empower yourself, to give yourself more power. Responsibility starts with the willingness to consider that you have something to do with the way things are or appear to be in your job.
Right.
Responsibility starts with the willingness to deal with the situation from the point of view that you are the author of how the world occurs to you, not the cause of the situation in which you find yourself, but the source of how the situation occurs to you. When you're being responsible, you deal with the situation from the point of view that who you are being, what you perceive, and what you do are a function of your interpretation. This point of view can be expanded to include what is done to you and what you observe being done to another or others. So, responsibility is the willingness to deal with yourself as if you are the person who makes the difference in any situation, whether or not at the moment you can clearly see how to make a difference. In practice, being responsible is standing in the middle of whatever situation in which you find yourself and recognizing that you have a say in the matter. Now, not necessarily the say, but certainly a say. And that
Right.
you choose to say, I am responsible. You then honor your word by acting as if you are responsible in dealing with the situation. Ultimately, responsibility is a way of being and can be a context for your work and your life.
Whoa, that is so powerful.
That
It's a lot
is,
to digest, but how I'm gonna tell you what
yeah.
really sinks into me
Hmm.
is how responsible when I am responsible, I'm loving myself,
Yeah.
taking accountability for everything in my life,
Yes.
going
Yes.
within, right?
By choice.
By choice. We have a choice. I love that. And we talk about this, Mark, in various different readings that we
Yep.
do about how there's two ways to look at the world
Yeah.
through the eyes of love or the
Yeah.
eyes of fear,
Right.
right? And
Those
we
are
have
the two. Those are
any
the
given
two.
moment, any choice.
Everything else emanates from those two, right? Those are at the
It
root, and we
is
love
the
root,
root.
don't we?
We do love root. Well, that's why
Yeah,
we do this every day. We do this
you
every
love
day
it.
because the root of who we are is love
Right.
inside. And that's
Yeah.
what this book
Now think
reminds you
about this. If you by choice choose to be responsible in any situation that comes up, whether it's work or your daily life or relationships with other people, what happens is you become the most powerful person in that situation.
Mark, you
That
even taught me that, right? You taught
yes.
me this very, very powerful principle that
Mhm.
I will never forget.
Mm.
It was during some times of difficulty. So it was,
Yeah.
said to me one point in time, he goes, Sherry, ask yourself this question. How can I be the most loving and most powerful in this situation so I don't hurt myself or someone else?
Mhm.
That to me was like, I just have the chills saying it, right?
Yeah.
Standing in this moment,
And
how
that's
do I
what you
choose?
chose.
I
You
chose to
chose
be loving and
I've seen
powerful.
you I've seen you choose that over and over again and be the most powerful person in the situation.
And the reason why is because I
Yeah.
wanted to do it differently.
Right.
I didn't wanna suffer anymore,
Right.
right? I
Right.
just
The pain gets good enough. We actually we actually change.
yeah.
I love this part right here, Sherry. It starts right off. It says responsibility is not burden. Have you had that experience where you're like, "Oh, I gotta take responsibility for this? What a pain in the ass. I don't wanna do it. It's a burden."
Yeah,
It's not a burden. Responsibility is a choice,
the
and
choice.
when you choose it and enthusiastically choose it, it's completely different. There's no burden, no
Yeah,
fault. You are
yeah.
just responsible by choice. So,
One
today,
other thing too, it
I'm
makes me funny.
responsible, damn it.
Yeah, I'm responsible. Here's the other thing too. When
Yeah.
you don't feel like it, just shift to this cool little mantra that I think of when I'm doing things that I don't wanna do. The
Yeah.
joy is in the journey. The joy is in the journey. And then I start to crack myself up because it's like, I'm like, "I don't wanna do this. Oh my god." The
I
joy is
know.
fine. Be present, be mindful, just do it. Be responsible, be accountable, love yourself.
Sherry,
Love it.
listen, not many people know this, and I think, folks are gonna be super impressed with this, but I actually received meritorious mast And that is a certificate of award in the Marine Corps when you do a really good job. And
Oh,
back in the day when I was a young Marine, I got a meritorious mass during a general inspection because the general had never seen such shiny urinals.
you shined the shitter perfectly.
I did. I'm a shitter shiner because I took responsibility and it wasn't a burden and the joy was in the journey. And I cleaned that. And you know what? That general said when he used it, said it was absolutely one of the most spotless he'd ever seen. So there you go. The joy is in the journey.
It's a
Like,
great
be a
story.
shitter shiner. Come on. I think that's the new mantra. Be a shitter shiner. That is it.
Yes,
Thank
everyone,
you. That's
everyone clean
beautiful.
their toilet today.
All right. Hey,
Oh,
folks,
God.
let's get it on here. Hey, Brian. Hey, Laura. Welcome. Welcome. All
So
right. We got a lot to
motivational
talk about.
Monday.
Sherry puts these great notes together. And today's, of course,
It's
is
going to be a little chatty today.
Motivational Monday. Yeah, we're gonna get through it. Here we
We're
go.
going to get through it because it's kind of fun. I was going
Yep.
through this weekend organizing this month's topics of discussion through our morning things, and I'm just like, you know what? I want to get through one cool section at a time through Canna Keys and kind of go through the hierarchy of the cannabinoids. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit about why we're doing this, right? Motivational Monday. What motivates us as cannabis nurses to do what we do? Well, number one, it saved many of our lives and a lot of the
Oh my
people that
gosh.
we love. And
Mhm.
number two, the National Council State Boards of Nursing, which
Mhm.
is the regulatory board that puts on the nursing
They
exam,
do it all.
exam. They do it all. And they put out guidelines in the Journal of Nursing Regulations for medical cannabis. They
Mhm.
identified 6 essential areas of knowledge about cannabis for all nurses,
Right.
nursing students, and advanced practice nurses. So
Yep.
there's 6 of them. We've been going through them, but today we're going to go over number 3. And number 3 is the nurse shall have an understanding of the endocannabinoid system, cannabinoid receptors, cannabinoids, and the interactions between them. So before we get started talking about 2 of the cannabinoids, Mark, what is a cannabinoid?
Oh my gosh, Sherry. It's the most exciting thing. Cannabinoids. They're the magic. That's it. Here we go. So cannabinoids are a chemical compound that act on the cannabinoid receptors. They're a specific chemical construction, right? And it includes endogenous cannabinoids, endogenous meaning from within, created within. We create our own cannabinoids that interact with these cannabinoid receptors in our body. We have phytocannabinoids, which are from a plant. So we have phytocannabinoids from the cannabis plant, and those lock into those receptors as well because they're cannabinoids and have that similar chemical structure, not the same, but
It's similar.
similar enough that they connect, right? And then you have synthetic cannabinoids. Boo! Synthetic cannabinoids, man trying to make nature better. Shit. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. They're just not as effective and they're not as good at giving all of the benefits that the phytocannabinoids and especially the endogenous cannabinoids.
Oh, that's what we want. And that's the
Yep.
goal. The goal is to stimulate our own endocannabinoid system to produce
Right.
more of our own internal endogenous cannabinoids to keep our what? Our bodies in balance. Homeostasis. Smooth.
Smooth, baby. All
Keep that
right.
umbrella going up and down. So, anyway,
Yes.
so what we're going to do today, Mark, is we're going
Yep.
to review the list of cannabinoids that we've talked about
Uh-huh.
through Canna Keys, and we're
Yeah.
going to focus on CBGA and
Yes.
quickly review CBG from last week, right?
Okay.
So when we talk about cannabinoids and molecules, right, there's a life cycle, just like all
Mhm.
cells. And the life cycle of a cannabinoid molecule, or the synthesis or the production of the cannabinoids in the
In the
plant,
plant. Yep.
is triggered by a lot of environmental influences,
Right.
light, oxygen exposure, time, and temperature.
Right. And so, what happens is they'll actually turn from one chemical construct, right? CBGA, most of them are in acidic form. They're acids by chemical nature. And then they degrade, or in the case of like THCA, if you heat THCA, what happens, Sherry?
It converts into THC.
Yes, decarboxylation. It converts from an acidic form to that psychoactive THC form. So there's a lot of different things that go on, right?
Here's a cool example. This is a good
Yeah.
one. So just imagine when you have an egg, right? You crack the egg, there's your THCA. You take the center of the egg and you put it in the frying pan and you're going to convert it, right? So you think about it, raw egg has health benefits. Cooked egg has health benefits. Very similar.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're huge fans of juicing because you get all those acidic cannabinoids before they've been converted, right? They're not psychoactive. They're really, really powerful anti-inflammatory chemicals. So, we're huge about juicing. But this week, we're going to talk about CBGA. And let's do a review of CBG. But there are other ones, right? CBDA converts to CBD, THCA to THC, CBCA to CBC. Well, then you have THCV, and there are a whole other list of cannabinoids. There's over 100 identified that we know of, right? Yeah. And oh my gosh, the amount of other varying chemicals in the different varieties of cannabis, it's astounding.
Yeah, it is really astounding. And then the more we dig into this too, the more we look at how cannabinoids, some of them work really strongly on the cannabinoid receptor. Some of them have like a weak connection to them.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are working on some type of system, some type of receptor, some type of area in our body.
Right. And that's the affinity, right? So when we talk in chemistry about the affinity of a molecule to bind to a receptor, that's how solid that connection is. So a lot of times it'll be the affinity will be high, and that's bound to that receptor, and that particular chemical component, that molecule is going to own that receptor for a period of time. Yeah. Because what happens is there are other things in that wash, right? Other chemicals that may bind to that receptor site. If it has high affinity, it tries to knock it off and compete. Doesn't happen. But if something has a low affinity, it may connect to that receptor for a short period of time, but then be knocked off by something that has a higher affinity. I love chemistry.
Well, the other thing too,
chemistry is so amazing.
Exactly. Well, the other thing too that's really important when we're talking about affinity, like an agonist, a partial agonist, a full agonist. Agonist is go, do, go, do. Antagonist is stop, pull back, go, stop. The endocannabinoid system, that light switch, right? And so if you think about that whole component of it, if you hear weak affinity, sometimes people say, oh, if it's a weak affinity, it doesn't mean it is as good. And that's not true, right? Just because it has, and here's an example, THC is what? A partial agonist, the CB1 receptor.
Right.
Just because it's partial doesn't mean that it's not effective. So the language is really important around this.
Yes.
Would you agree?
I totally agree.
All right. So let's get into CBGA.
CBGA.
All right.
Ready?
It is a plant-based phytocannabinoid. It was actually discovered, you ready for this, in 1965.
Woo!
And so like we were talking about before, it has a weak affinity for the CB1 and CB2 receptors, which is just, it still works, but not as like strong. But it has a strong affinity for 5 of the TRPS receptors, which we covered last Thursday, and other receptors. So a stronger affinity for other receptors in our body that actually do a lot of different things, right? The other thing I loved about CBGA, it is the essential precursor to all of the other phytocannabinoids, including some of the ones that are listed here.
Yeah. CBGA, CBG, THCA, THCVA, THC, THCV. Oh my gosh, CBDA.
The hierarchy. So think about this. It's so
all
cool.
of them.
Yeah. So you have the CBGA at the top, and then it goes off, converts to CBG. And then right below that, right, you have CBGA that converts to THCA, then from THCA and goes to THCVA to THC to THC. So yesterday, we posted up a huge chart of all the cannabinoids and the life cycle when you cut the plant fresh, when the plant starts to cure, and when the plant ages. So it's constantly evolving and working in different ways to present the
which, is, just as an aside, that's part of the problem with this 0.03% or 0.3% THC content of hemp.
Yes.
Because all of these factors play into it, right? When you harvest it, what's the THCA level? When you cure it, how long do you cure it can change that. So it's really hard for hemp farmers to stay compliant, which is why it's just so ridiculous to have that number. Arbitrary. They pulled a number out of a hat somewhere in some scientific room, right? The regulators got together and said, what number should we? 0.3%? And who likes the number 3?
Doesn't make any sense.
Raise their hand, they pull it out of a hat. It's just that arbitrary. It has no real scientific basis.
None. And also, too, for people to understand, too, is hemp is cannabis.
Hemp is cannabis. Yes, of course.
Cannabis. Interesting.
Hemp. I mean, it's not anything different. It is a cannabis plant.
It is a cannabis plant. So CBGA is that mother. I look at it as the motherboard, the controller of how the rest of the plant starts to evolve, right? And so what about the properties, Mark?
Okay. Anti-leishmanial. Okay, acting against leishmania parasites, which are transmitted by sandflies, which, those son of a guns are all over the place, biting you at the beach or your house. Okay, so they can cause disease in humans and other vertebrates, right? Skin sores, spleen enlargement can affect the liver and the bone marrow.
Yeah.
And then you move on to, it's a neuroprotectant, right? Preservation of neurons, prevents breakdown of neurons.
Right.
And it aims to prevent or slow disease progression like neurodegenerative disorders, stroke, traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, and acute management of neurotoxin consumption, such as amphetamines.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. So this is even more fascinating to me is when we start to look at the studies, right? There aren't very many. I was like,
we're early on. Right?
I know, but
studies take money and time and the ability to actually do them, right? Governmental legality issues.
I know. It's like, this is what I have to say to them. I'm like, take your time, but hurry up.
Take the time, but hurry up. Right. Listen, there's so many different positive qualities within the cannabis as a medicine realm. You really got to, it's a matter of, okay, what's the more important things that we study here, right? So the studies are kind of, there's not enough people to go around to do the studies to begin with, to execute on them, and they cost money and they take time. So this hasn't been studied a lot. So what do we have? We had 9 total done in the lab, which is in the Petri dish format, and animals. No human trials, no double blinds, right?
No. But that's, can I tell you, that makes it exciting to me. Like, that's the evolution. Like, whoa, they've got so much more to do. Get on that. So much more to do.
Yeah.
But most of the studies with CBGA were done on the nervous system and the digestive system. And some of the top conditions related to CBGA studies include allergic dermatitis, cancer, neurodegenerative disorders, colon cancer, epilepsy, COVID-19 virus, and bacterial infections.
Yeah.
So that's CBGA.
Yeah. Now, back to CBG, discovered in 1964, right?
And like we had said before, CBGA is its acidic form, which is the precursor to CBG.
Right.
And what we learned and we discussed last week is that CBG is non-impairing and works on multiple receptors and neurotransmitters at the same time.
It's magical.
It's magic. It is. It's really amazing.
Works on multiple receptors at the same time.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So we
Well,
had a lot of studies with this, 46 total, what I consider a lot,
that's a lot.
right? So the
Mhm.
top conditions related to CBG studies. Now, Sherry, talk to us about the umbrella.
Okay, so this is the part that's so cool, right? If we're going to
Yeah.
list all of these conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and when you hear all of these conditions, I want you to think endocannabinoid system umbrella. So that's how we teach the endocannabinoid system. The umbrella is our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
All of the spokes of the umbrella are your different organ systems that we talk about. All of the fabric pieces that connect to the spokes of the umbrella are those messenger signaling systems that give messages.
Mm-hmm.
Top of that umbrella, right, is where we produce our internal endogenous cannabinoids. It's the on-off switch. We release cannabinoids upon demand to keep all of our organ systems in harmony and balance. So the top conditions related to CBG studies include, Mark?
Ooh, big ones. Colitis, staph infections. Next.
COVID-19, they've been studying. Colon
Mm-hmm.
cancer, epilepsy.
Yeah. Anorexia, breast cancer.
Skin diseases, and brain cancer. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So where's it found, Cher? Where's CBG?
Yep. So basically, CBG is found in high flowering strains of hemp. Okay. So basically the part that's really cool about that too, one of my favorite things about CBG, and I've been exploring this, is that it can increase our own anandamine molecule, our own bliss-like molecule, just like probably one of my favorite. But there's been a ton of reported benefits, Mark.
Of course. And that's
Ton.
to be expected, Sherry. My gosh. Let's talk about some of those. So analgesic relieves pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Antibacteria slows bacteria growth. We see that in a lot of cannabinoids and terpenes, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Some more antis. We've got some anticonvulsant. It reduces seizures and convulsions. Anti-inflammatory. It reduces inflammation throughout the body. Anti-insomnia, aids in sleep. Big one. Big one. Next anti-mark.
Anti-proliferative, and it inhibits cancer cell growth.
Yeah.
Antidepressant. Yeah, it raises mood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one that's important to me right now because I'm having some issues.
We talked about this.
We did a show on Friday on osteoporosis. And so CBG has been known as a bone stimulant. So it helps promote bone growth. Now, that's not to say just to take CBG, because there's other things that you need to do as well. But it's just a really good cannabinoid to remember to try to enhance. I also like too, it's a brain cell stimulant. It promotes neuron growth. And for some patient, it's an appetite stimulant, and it increases appetite.
Awesome. Yeah. So we talked about all of these different things that it has efficacy for, and we've seen some other things where it's been beneficial, Sherry, right?
Inflammatory disorder. So just think of all the inflammatory disorders that exist, and there's a ton of them, right? We don't die of old age. We die of old age related conditions, and they're mostly related to inflammation.
Right.
So the
big
top
part of the aging process, chronic inflammation. Yeah. So any of those inflammatory bowel diseases, autoimmune diseases, psoriasis, all autoimmune related and inflammatory.
Yeah. And so the other things too, we'll just go through it really quickly. We talked about it before. So the top conditions in these studies, we said the inflammatory disorders, chronic pain, epilepsy, depression, insomnia, glaucoma, osteoporosis, cancer, anorexia, and that horrible bacteria, MRSA.
MRSA. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Flying through, Cher, coming up on the end.
Plowing through. So we're going to kind of review. So we think about CBGA and CBG. I personally haven't seen any CBGA products on the market.
Right. because
but
because they'd have to not process in order for you to get it. So it doesn't make financial sense for the people who are growing to actually do that yet.
yeah. So what would we have to see? We would have to see high flowering strains of hemp harvested, not cured to its full potential to be able to get that CBGA.
Right. Right.
But then CBG, right,
Mhm.
comes from those flowering strains of hemp. And the
Mhm.
hemp cultivation, that when they grow those high CBG strains, that's specific cultivation, specific temperature, specific nutrients, and they harvest and
Right.
extract it before curing into the other cannabinoids.
Yeah. So how's it come?
Well, I'm going to tell you my newest way of trying it has been actually concentrates,
Yeah.
bubble hash, fresh rosin, really,
Mhm.
really nice. It's really good, a good way to start the day. There's CBG isolates, CBG concentrate, CBG
Mhm.
flour, tinctures, gummies, and capsules. I've seen all of those. So this
Yeah.
CBG is really starting to evolve. So
Mhm.
what about
Mhm.
patients, Mark? When new patients come to us, they may want to use other cannabinoids with trace amounts of THC, not or no THC at all, but they want to have some benefits of these cannabinoids. So if someone comes to us and says, "Hey, Mark, I want to try some CBG," what do we say to them?
Hold on, Sherry. I'm sorry. Somebody just popped in and said,
Someone
"Hey,
pops
where
in,
are you? I have an 8:30 meeting." So, hey,
oh,
we're
geez,
gonna
all right,
keep going. Here we go.
wrap it up. We're going to wrap
Ask
it
me
up.
that question again.
So basically, when we're working with patients,
Yeah.
say I came to you, Mark, and I said, "Hey, Mark, I want to
Mhm.
use CBG. I heard
Yeah.
it's pretty good." So when we work with patients, we just don't throw CBG information at them. We look at
Oh,
what?
oh,
Every
the whole picture. Listen, this is a holistic methodology of applying cannabinoid medicine. We look at all of the different aspects of what's going on in someone's life, right?
Yeah.
What diagnoses they have, what symptoms they're looking to alleviate, what other medications, super important, right? And my favorite, Sherry, what's your lifestyle like? Again, using these cannabinoids is about lifting you up into a healthier space so that you can participate in all of the other things that help to upregulate, to stimulate your endocannabinoid system to be working correctly, like exercise,
Yeah.
like getting enough sleep, all of those important things.
Yep. And so then when
Yeah.
we're working with patients, we handhold. We
Hmm.
ask those questions. What's important to you? How do you want to live your
Yep.
life? What is your preferred method of administration? What are your goals of therapy? And what are your stigmas
Yeah.
like? Right. The
Right.
last thing I'm going to do is recommend someone to dab a CBG concentrate when they have no interest whatsoever. So it's really,
Oh.
we're meeting patients where they're at. We're guiding
Hmm.
them, we're directing them. We will take you on a journey and we'll hold your
Right.
hand until you're ready to let go. That's how we work
Exactly.
with patients. Yeah.
Well, hey guys, we started off talking about responsibility. I hate to jump, but I got to be responsible. I got an
Responsibility.
8:30 meeting that I'm 5 minutes late for. But I'm committed to being here with you,
No, you're not.
responsible
Yeah.
with Sherry,
Thank
to
you.
just absolutely enjoy this moment with you. And God,
Thank
I
you.
love how you guys are popping up and talking about your personal experiences. That's community. That's love. So
Community.
you
And
you you're
I'm gonna
you're making my AFA day really easy to start off in that mode. So,
making my FA day too. So before we wrap up, I just want to
yeah.
let everyone know tonight is the big night.
Yep.
I'm gonna be putting a post up later. We're
Huh?
starting our mastermind group, which is really, really cool. We just have a couple
Yeah.
joining, and it's about education. It's about
Mhm.
AFA topics. It's about the
Yep.
endocannabinoid system. Very similar to what we talk about here on our morning shows, but more detailed, and bringing more community together. So check
Mhm.
out for that post. It's available for anyone and everyone to
Yep.
join. And there'll be some more information on that later. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
All right.
All right, guys.
Very, it's an AFA day for me. I'm being responsible.
I know you are. I love it.
You gotta tell me though, what's it all about?
Oh, goodness. We all have a responsibility to remember it's about living your best life and helping others do the same. Have a good day,
Yeah.
everyone.
Have a great day, everybody. Love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. See you tonight. Oh no, not unless you join us for our mentorship. We'll see
Mentorship.
you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning.